Welcome to the Shetland Times podcast. I'm your host, Thor Holt, and before we meet today's guest, please remember we'd love to get your suggestions for who you'd like to hear on the show at shetlandtimes.co.uk. Also, potential sponsorship opportunities for the show if you get in touch via shetlandtimes.co.uk. Today's guest began playing the fiddle aged 9 and has studied under both Trevor Hunter and the late great Willie Hunter, who is arguably Shetland's finest ever fiddler. I hope you enjoy my conversation with Kevin Henderson.
Kan du dela den Reiningen halvvägs?
Does that mean cut that bill in half?
Yeah.
Brilliant. So how have you ended up living in Norway then?
I met a woman.
That's a good start to any story. Keep going. You can't leave us there.
Yeah, I met a girl, let me see now, it's nearly 11 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to move and we've got 2 kids now and we built a house, moved in there last year, so I'm kind of settled here. But I do miss Shetland, I must say, Scotland. There's pros and cons to everywhere.
So before we get into Norway, which I wouldn't mind doing, what do you miss about Shetland? Because I miss Shetland too, but what do you miss about Shetland?
Oh, you're not in Shetland?
No, I'm actually down outside of Aberdeen, on D side.
Okay, well that's a nice area.
It is nice, but it's not Shetland, and I don't have access to the sea, which is the big miss for me. No boats.
Yeah, well, see, I'm right on the sea, so I'm lucky in that respect. But I would really miss that if I didn't have that. Mm-hmm. I miss the social scene. Norway's great, but it's quite hard to get into the social circles here. Oh, sorry, my phone is...
That's all right.
That's bizarre. I'm getting a Skype call from you on my mobile.
I've never called you. That's weird. You called me.
It's bizarre how this technology works sometimes. But where was I? Lost my train of thought.
Shetland.
Yeah, Norway's great.
Oh, social scene. Sorry, it was social scene in Norway. Yeah.
It's quite hard to get into social circles here. I find that the folks more closed than what I'm used to back home. So I miss that. And where I am, there's not really much of a traditional music scene. So there's no like jam sessions or anything, and I miss that as well. But the positives in Norway, it's a great standard of living, and I mean, you pay more tax, but you get a lot more back in that respect. Just now I'm on it's called pappaperm, my paternity leave. Mm-hmm. So I basically get 3 months at home with the baby, and it's full pay as well, which is amazing. That's one of the benefits.
Hold on a minute, Kevin. Congratulations, by the way, on the baby. That's
Thank
awesome.
you.
Is it your first one, second one?
No, this is the second one.
Brilliant. Well done.
Yeah.
Good man. See, it's tough for the guys.
It's
hard for the dads. There's no attention on us dads. It's all about the baby and the mum and jinx.
It is. We're kind of cast aside.
It's harsh, but at least you're getting this papa leave or whatever it's called. So you get your what is it? Papa perm.
Yeah.
Makes
kind of
me
like
think
dad permission.
Oh, it made me think of Gaza in the old days with the perm. Yeah, Papa perm. Cool. Okay. So social scene. Rewind a second to that, because obviously, as a fiddler, as a professional fiddler, well, there's a couple of ways I would be interested to go. One is you say they pay you. Well, surely as a fiddler you're self-employed, aren't you? So how would they know what to pay you? How does that work?
Yeah, you're quite right. But what they do is they take an average of. I submitted my last 2 years tax returns, and they took an average of that, and they pay me that each month.
Wow! So you, as a self-employed, well, basically a small business owner, they would take the average of what you've earned. See, if I was going to do that, I would have had to been smart and have a baby just at the end of the oil boom, because my consulting business is mainly into oil and gas, so I would have had a couple of healthy years there. And then I could have taken that average, had a baby, hung out for 2 years, waiting for the oil price to come back up, getting my average income. Fantastic. So what tax rates are Norwegians paying to achieve such magnanimity?
I think I think I pay 36%, but to be honest, the UK is not that much different when you take in national insurance contributions and that. But the benefit in the UK is you get the 10 grand, first 10 grand tax free or whatever it is now, but you don't get that in Norway.
Oh, okay.
And the thing I like in Norway is there's no hidden tax. And there's a lot of hidden tax in the UK. The thing here is very transparent, and I don't like this, but you can actually go online and see what anybody is earning. It's like completely transparent here. I would never do that. I think it's an invasion of privacy myself, but
yeah, it does sound like it. That's a funny one. But that's a cultural thing, and that's really interesting. Let's take it back to the cultural part, and we'll get back to fiddling hopefully. But the cultural part of when you say you find it's harder to fit in, because I'm surprised, Kevin, because you're a Shetlander and you're obviously a sociable guy. You're a guy that plays an instrument and is involved in music and what is, what generates a social scene, and yet you find that to be the case, that you feel the Norwegians aren't maybe as open as they would be in Shetland. Is that a fair comparison, though? Because in Shetland, you're an insider. I mean, you're from there. So how about when you went to mainland Scotland? Could you maybe compare it with Norway? Would that be a fairer comparable for you?
No, I find Scotland a lot more open than Norway. I moved to Glasgow, lived there for a few years, and was instantly into a social scene. Whereas here, I find it a lot more difficult. I mean, I do have friends here, of course, but that's through music. If I didn't have the music, I think I would, because I'm self-employed and I'm not working in whatever, an office job or a shop or whatever, I've not got that instant scene that I can meet people and hang out or whatever. And where I live, as I was saying, there's not really a trad music scene, so that's difficult. And I mean, we're in a small country area, a very small kind of place that's heaving in the summertime. It's a summer town. So in the winter, it's really quiet here. Again, there's pros and cons to that. But I do miss the sort of vibrant, sort of social scene. We were in Oslo the other weekend just for a couple of days, and it was kind of uplifting to see some people.
So is that why? Well, tell me about the Nordic Fiddlers Bloc. Is that you just generating a social scene then? I saw it was on. Was it Andrew Marr's show you'd been on?
Yeah, we were lucky enough to get on that.
No, good enough, Kevin. Good enough, not lucky enough. Let's not have any luck here.
But, it was basically we'd met in the sort of, I think it was more the festival scene here in Norway, and we just enjoyed hanging out and playing. See, that's a benefit of being where there's a music scene or whatever. You cannot automatically be put into a social circle, if you like. And we just enjoyed hanging out and playing, and we liked each other's traditions and styles of playing, and we just thought it would be a fun idea to put it on stage, and it's taken off from there, and it's probably the most active thing I do now. You probably hear this a lot, but times is hard with economically and funding cuts and that. So the gig fees is not what they used to be, and it's a lot easier going on the road with a condensed. Because the other bands I'm in, it's like 7 folk, like Fiddlers Bid and Session A9, and it's a lot easier to go on the road with a trio, just jump in a car and whatnot, and the overheads is a lot less. So it's kind of just taken off, and so far we've had a lot of success in the UK and America, and hopefully it'll keep going.
So are you on a complete break just now, though, because of the Papa Perm thing?
I am, because you can't. Well, that's a lie. I was going to say you can't work if you submit documentation. I think it's 8 months in advance. You can tell them when you're going to work, but in my line of work, that's near on impossible because you don't know what you're going to be doing whenever. So I just decided just to take the time off.
So have you always been a fiddler then? Is that what you've done ever since you left school, or did you have other jobs before that?
Well, I actually served my time as an electrician, and I worked for Shetland Electrical Services for, how long was that? Let me see. Must have been 8 years or something, I think. 6. I can't remember. Then I went self-employed as a sparky. And then I got asked to play on Boys of the Lough's album called Lonesome Blues and Dancing Shoes. And they asked me to tour in the States. They had a month-long tour in March 2002, I think it was. And I just decided, and after that tour, they asked me to join full time, and I just thought I'm going to try the music full time. And thankfully, so far it's worked out. It's been 15 years now, which is quite a scary thought. So, time goes fast.
And does your did you say wife or partner? Is she a
engaged.
musician as well? You're engaged. Congratulations again.
Thank you.
Is she a musician as well?
Yes, she is. She plays Hardanger fiddle, which is the Norwegian fiddle, and she sings, but she's not so much into the touring lifestyle, so she has got, it's actually 2 different teaching jobs in 2 different regions here, one in Telemark and one in Agder, which is very close to here, and she teaches singing and fiddle as well there. So she's the one with the steady income.
Well, that's good. It's good to have one of you that has a steady income. You say Telemark, so that's an area. I just know of that as Telemark skiing. Is that like the birthplace of that cross-country skiing?
There's a big skiing area, yeah, in Telemark. Not exactly where we are, but further north there's a lot of ski slopes and ski resorts.
Do you get involved with that?
Nope. I am terrible.
that would surely help you fit in with the Norwegian social scene.
Oh, you've not seen me skiing.
No, better at fiddling. I was watching a video of you in my lead up to this conversation, and it's getting heck of an addictive, this fiddling stuff. Because I interviewed Ali Bain as well, and it's when I start listening to you guys, I realise how much I love fiddle music, but it's just not something that's really across my radar most of the time. But I found one, it was a video of you with a Spanish guy. There was like you, a Spanish guy, and another guy on a stage, and it was just, the energy in it was just awesome, and you were like taking turns. I'm not sure what his name would
that'll be Andre Brunet. He's from Quebec.
Oh, he's not Spanish. Why did I think he was Spanish? I don't know where I got that
Probably
from.
His name. He's got quite a Spanish. Andre Brunet is his name. Yeah, he's amazing. That was a festival in Edinburgh, I don't know, 5 years ago, and we got asked to go and have a tune, so it was just off the cuff.
Was that improv, like just jumping in?
It was completely improv, yeah.
It was flipping awesome. And I also noticed something else that reminded me of Shetland, was I'm sure you were swinging from a pint. You had a pint and a pint of beer down by your feet.
Possibly. It was a late night club spot.
Because I was thinking, it just looked like 3 guys having a brilliant time, having a pint and just getting to...
But that's what it was. That's
job satisfaction is what it just. It was like if you needed a little video of job satisfaction, it was you 3 guys. Because when each of you was playing, the other 2 were like kind of just totally in the moment with you and just like tapping away or kind of. Do you know what I mean? It was like all in it together. I don't know. Just thought it was
that's exactly what it was. It was a late night club spot in the Queen's Hall, and it was just good crack. Exactly what it was. It's quite funny because I had a lot of pals at school that, I used to get slagged off for playing the fiddle like Nancy Boy or whatever.
Really? In Shetland?
But do you know, they're all going to the folk festival now and thinking this is amazing crack.
Yeah. I'm surprised that you were slagged off for that. That's disappointing. I guess kids will always find something to rip it into each other.
Well, exactly. It was in good humour. Thankfully I didn't take it too seriously, but otherwise I wouldn't be playing now.
No, because it was making me I literally started thinking, it'd be fine to have a whiskey right now. That would be just what I need. Yeah. And I was like, no, that's not what you need. It's 9:30 at night. You've got early morning. It's the energy in it, isn't it? It's got a certain special energy.
Yeah, it's quite addictive and hypnotic in some way. It draws you in.
Mm-hmm. And what's the future for you, do you think? Could you ever imagine getting your missus and your kids and shipping them back over to Shetland?
Personally, I would love to.
I don't want to cause a marital breakup before you've even got married here. Be careful how you answer, Kevin.
She can't hear the question, so it's fine. Again, the social thing, and I miss the kids, being brought up into Shetland. Just up Helia's just been, for example, and I'm always gutted not to be home for it. I always watch it online, and I just remember when I was a youngster, a Yarrow squad coming into the school, and it was like it's something you look forward to the whole year, and it's just the thought of Lucas and Liam, that's my two, getting to experience that. And we were home in December. We were home for a month because Annika was actually on her leave then, and I just decided to take a month off and go to Shetland. And there's just so much to do for kids, and like we were at the swimming pool. Lucas learned how to swim. I'm not saying there's no swimming pool here, but it costs a fortune here. Like, he was free. We've got a swimming pool. It's in a hotel here, but it's like 15 quid for Lucas to go for a swim.
What, with all that tax, Kevin? Surely I was expecting you to tell me it was a socialist paradise, Norway, if you're paying all that tax. Where are they spending? They're spending it all on you guys, Papa Perm.
Well, exactly. And there's a lot, like, just being brought up into the music scene in Shetland, and missing all my family, and my family missing them growing up. I really miss all that. Mm-hmm. But that's how it is.
Yeah, I don't want to make you sad. Although you'll maybe go away and kind of put together a sad lament of some kind tune after this conversation.
It can be inspiring to compose.
After I've depressed you. How does that work? I mean, I know nothing about fiddle music other than I like the sound of it. How does it work in terms of putting together tunes? Is it something you just do, sit and improvise, or do you literally write it? How does that work? It's
a mix, to be honest. And I guess everybody works in different ways, but sometimes even when I'm out taking Liam, the youngest one, for a walk in the pram, I might get some, like a group of notes going in my head, and I diddle it into the mobile and try and work on it later. And other times, maybe you're just sitting down practicing and maybe try and write something, and you might get a few bars together. And also, I even get inspired listening to whatever, rock music or jazz, just listen to some chord progressions, and you might get an idea in your head through that. So it's a complete mix of things that inspire you to write music and put things together. From my own point of view, I know other folk work differently. They can just sit down at any time and compose a tune. That's generally not how I am at my most productive, but I'm amazed that folk can just sit down and compose a tune on the spot.
So yeah, do you have like a structure? Like, I know you're on paternity leave just now, but like generally, do you try and structure it? Because I'm guessing it could end up being a bit chaotic. Like, you've got gigs that you're going to go and do, but other than that, where's the structure? Do you self-impose it? How does that work?
Yeah, you kind of have to, but it's difficult with the family life, being in the house and kids running riot and finding time to sit there and play after. Like, for example, when I'm home with Liam all day, like him, because he doesn't sleep much during the day, but when it comes to night, I'm just shattered, and I don't have the energy to sit down and play. So it's the fiddle's kind of taking a back seat at the moment, but you do have to try and structure. The best thing I find is leaving the fiddle lying out on a table or something, because you might just pick it up for 5 minutes and scrape out a tune. When it's in the case locked away, it's kind of out of sight, out of mind for me. But it is difficult with the family life to try and fit quality practice time in, I must say.
Yeah, so that's that's a work in progress.
Yeah, I must admit I'm not the best at practicing at the best of times.
So does that ever go wrong? Like, so one of my kind of streams of income is I speak professionally, and I get paid for that. Now, if I don't rehearse, and if I am not pretty disciplined, like I've got quite a big one coming up in under a month, and in between times I'm away on a ski holiday to the Alps, so I am fully cognizant of the fact that I really need to nail a lot of practice, including on my holiday, and if I don't, I'm going to stand up there and I'm going to really struggle. Could that ever happen to a fiddler, or is it so ingrained in you after years of playing that you would always be able to bluff your way through?
Well, it depends on the gig, I suppose, and the music in question. Sometimes you really have to put the hours in just to get on top of a complex arrangement or a piece of music. And like other times, you can get through it, but it might not be the 100%. And that can be disappointing after the gig. Like, I wish I had another day to run through that or whatever. And sometimes safety in numbers gets you by as well, like you're feeding off each other. And so, yeah, it can happen. You think,
but best avoided, obviously.
Absolutely. It's best to put the hours in, as I'm sure you know.
I absolutely do. So you mentioned that times were tough, as in budgets and things. Does that not inspire you? So this is maybe a I don't mean to be in any way negative, but does that not
No,
make
no,
you
no.
consider another career altogether? Like obviously I think what you guys do is awesome, but if people aren't paying as much as they should or did, would that encourage you, to give up and take on another career, or do you just have to look for new business models and new ways of doing what you do?
Well, I mean, sometimes when you have a downturn, you think, "Oh no, what am I going to do here?" or whatnot, and then the next month it can be a complete opposite, and then it's like, all right, I'm fine here. But the way the industry is at the moment, it can be disheartening. Like even like CD sales, for example, is a way down, and a lot of folk expect to get music for free now, like Spotify and just copying. And folk will openly tell you that at the merch table, which is it's like, oh, don't tell me that. It's like,
what do they think? You should just. It's funny, isn't it? Because it's as if people think they should get everything for free. But where does that end? It's like newspapers. Like I interview writers for my other podcast. I have a show called Write with Courage, and a lot of the writers are also journalists. They maybe write books, but they're journalists, and they all tell me, man, the industry is really struggling, or even it's dying, and it's because less people want to advertise. Stuff's going online, but nobody wants to pay for anything.
Exactly.
So it's like, well, what do you, so then people will complain about fake news or crap online, and you think, well, you're your own worst enemy. If you're not going to pay for anything ever, what do you think is the end result of all this?
Exactly. And it's, I mean, I've had standing at the CD table selling CDs, and folk will say, oh, I'll just get a copy. My friends bought one. And it's like,
they just say it as if they don't even know that that's actually illegal.
yeah, and it's just folk think it's just how it is now. And Spotify, I mean, I admit it's a great platform and it's great to check things out and that, but it's a terrible deal for musicians. I mean, it really is pennies you get for thousands of streams, and you just wonder where it's going. The whole, I mean, I know there's a great CD shop in Edinburgh called Coda Music, and they do a great job supporting trad musicians and different types of things. And he said that if it wasn't for vinyl now, he'd be out of business. There's a lot more folk buying vinyl, and that's what keeps him going. And I just wonder where the whole thing is going when it comes to that. I suppose in one respect, in like trad music, you generally sell most of your stuff at concerts, except for in Scandinavia. CD sales are terrible here because that's all they do is stream on Spotify, and in Norway they have a platform called Wimp. And
catchy.
Yeah, very. And it's luckily we sell a lot. We like Nordic Fiddlers Bloc, for example, a lot in the UK and the States still. But I don't know if it's just a matter of time before it goes the same way there as well.
Do you guys do vinyl?
We've spoken about it. Yeah, it costs quite a lot to manufacture, but I think it is a good thing to have, and like enthusiasts will always go for that. But it's not very practical to take on tour.
No, it's funny though, because I was speaking to Will Irvin from a band called Hunter and the Bear, and they're up in Shetland in May, and they're just young guys, and he was saying they're doing a run of vinyl, and they're selling it, and people seem to love it because it's just more personal. So even though obviously the sound quality might be not quite as good as digital or whatever, I mean, who really notices anyway? I think, but maybe that's because I'm half deaf.
I think 99% is about, or 90 whatever it is, doesn't notice the difference.
No, and the beauty of it is, like, they can sign them. Those things are special. People are going to keep that. You'll put that in a collection place or on a bookshelf, or you'll keep it. You're like, oh yeah, I went to that concert or that gig and I got that. Like, who does that with a CD? I mean, the format's rubbish anyway, because you scratch them once. You got a kid or something. Kid plays it once. It's the end of the thing. It's hopeless.
Exactly.
It looks rubbish. It doesn't fit anywhere. So for me, vinyl probably is a good way for. Like, I'd buy vinyl if I went to a gig, even though I don't have a record player, just because it's something you could get the artist to sign and you could have it as a keepsake. So maybe there's something in going back to that. Yeah,
I've got a few vinyls, so I don't have a record player, but
there you go. Then prove my point.
I've bought some, and I've been given some, like really old Boys of the Lough albums, for example. And it just looks great. It looks a classy product.
Which is,
like you're saying. Sorry.
So no, sorry. I was going to say I should let you finish that. But I was going to say it looking like and being a classy product for kind of niche bands, I guess, like you guys, and for maybe for loads of musicians. that must be the way forward, mustn't it? Because I guess it's unlikely that you'll ever be kind of mass market where that Spotify streaming thing is going to bring in enough to make a great living.
Well, I don't know. Even well-known rock bands, I was reading an article the other month, I can't remember which band this was, they'd had 3 million streams on Spotify and they only got, I think it was $1,600.
What?
for 3 million streams on Spotify.
That's just, it's just pointless, obviously. I mean,
there is bands that's putting up a fight by not putting their product out there, and we did that with our last Nordic Fiddlers Bloc album, and I mean, there is pros and cons to that. The cons being that some folk might not find out about you. They might find out by accident if you're on Spotify. But to be honest, for all you get out of it, I think it's better not have it on there.
Do you know what the cut is? Do you know what Spotify make? Like, for that band that had 3 million downloads and made $1,600, I wonder what Spotify made from that.
It's massive, because I saw... I can't remember what that was, the percentage breakdown and what the artist actually gets.
What did they get? Did they get more than 50%?
I think it was.
Because that would be, I would have thought that would be considered unethical if they were a kind of an agent. You know, if your agent got more than 50% of your income as an actor or performer of some kind, people would be asking some pretty hard questions, because that's, you know.
I can't remember the breakdown, but it certainly wasn't in the artist's favour.
No, it sounds tough. Well, hopefully some of the listeners to the Shetland Times podcast, they're going to man up and go buy your vinyl when you bring it out.
Yeah.
Or maybe
there's a good few folk
Spotify.
bands that's released vinyls the past few years, and I think it looks classy, but it's an expensive thing to make, and it's not practical for taking on tour. That's the downsides of it. But I think it's a classy thing to have.
And you could spend some of all that money that's swilling around, your Papa Perm money, some of that could be spent on making vinyls. Yeah. That's true.
I'll need to speak to the wife about that.
No, don't do that. How can the listeners to the show connect with you guys, Kevin? Like with you and also with the Nordic Fiddlers Bloc?
Well, we've all the websites, of course, NordicFiddlersBloc.com, and my own one is, which I really need to get a new one done. But that's just kevinhenderson.co.uk, and then other bands, Fiddlers Bid, Session A9, all the websites, and of course we're all on Facebook and Twitter, just the usual crack nowadays.
What's your Twitter? Is it K Henderson Music? Is that you?
Yes, that's right.
K Henderson Music, great. And before you go then, Kevin, I ask everyone this, what's the best advice you would give someone if they were considering living in Shetland? Let's say someone coming from Norway or from mainland Scotland, what advice would you give them?
Oh, that is a difficult question. Advice? Crikey.
Don't worry, I'll edit out the thinking time if it goes over the 5-minute mark.
I think that'll be longer as that. I think the best thing to do is get right in to the centre of the whole social thing. I think Shetland is an amazing place socially. There's so many events and like festivals, and I think it's a great place to live your life, and I think it's a great place to be brought up as well. I mean, also when it comes to music, there's some across all genres. The standard of musicianship in Shetland is pretty unique, I think. But I think the main thing is just get right into the heart of the social scene in Shetland.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kevin. And thanks
that
for
took
coming.
a while.
No, it's good. That was great. It was good, though. Worth the wait. Thanks for coming on the Shetland Times podcast. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Nice one. And people can go to visit the shetlandtimes.co.uk or the Facebook page to suggest folk that you'd like to hear us interview and give us any feedback on the interviews, either just at my own Twitter account, @ThorHolt, or via my own site. You can get me through thorholt.com and just send me an email that way.